How and why did the KC-135 tanker go down? At this point, multiple theories are being looked at. The first option is a mid-air refueling accident where the refueling boom broke, causing the trailing tanker to hit the lead aircraft's tail. A second theory suggests that Iraqi militia groups may have targeted the plane with a surface-to-air missile. And a third theory points to a possible collision caused by the two tankers flying in an extremely close formation. So, what exactly happened to this flying gas station? On March 12, 2026, disaster hit the skies over western Iraq. Here is everything we know so far about the crash involving a U.S. Air Force KC-135 stratotanker. The incident took place in what is considered friendly airspace while the aircraft was actively involved in supporting Operation Epic Fury. According to CENTCOM and public flight tracking data, this was not an enemy shoot-down. It appeared to be a mid-air collision between two KC-135s flying together. One of the large tankers came down in the Iraqi desert. The second aircraft instantly declared an in-flight emergency. Flight trackers observed the surviving jet circling near the coast before eventually making a difficult but safe landing at Ben Gurion Airport in Israel. When images of the surviving aircraft came out, the damage was hard to believe. A large portion of its vertical tail fin had been completely torn off. But how does an accident like this actually take place? When mid-air collisions happen between these 150-ton flying gas stations, it almost always comes down to one of three dangerous scenarios. Scenario 1 is tanker-to-tanker fuel transfer. To keep strike packages in the fight for longer, tankers regularly pass fuel to one another. The receiving jet must fly just a few feet under the lead aircraft's tail. A small throttle error or a sudden wind shift can push the big jet forward, causing its cockpit to crash straight into the leader's tail. The error margin is basically zero. Normally, a standard KC-135 tanker mission operates with a minimum crew of 3, a pilot, co-pilot, and boom operator. However, officials have confirmed that at least 6 U.S. service members were on board the aircraft. U.S. Central Command stated, at approximately 2 p.m. on March 12th, a U.S. refueling aircraft went down in western Iraq. 4 of the 6 crew members on board have been confirmed dead as rescue operations go on. Scenario 2 is tankers flying without any lights. In combat zones, tankers move in tight groups to stay hidden from enemy air defenses. They go completely dark, no radio calls, no active radar, and no lights. If a pilot loses his bearings during a nighttime turn, he can easily move off course and fly completely blind right into his wingman, crashing into the tail or cutting off a wing section, which results in a mid-air collision. Scenario 3 involves Iran's continuing influence through groups loyal to the regime. Early on, there was speculation that these forces may have launched a surface-to-air missile to bring down one of the aircraft, but CENTCOM has officially confirmed that the crash was not the result of hostile or friendly fire. Based on this official statement and the visible damage to the surviving plane's tail fin, all current evidence points toward a mid-air collision or an accident between the two tankers. The actual reason behind all of this may simply be a misreading of data. And on the topic of data, once your personal information is out there, expect to be hit with spam emails, unwanted calls, and online security breaches. This exposed data does not just bring spam and scam attempts. It can also push up your insurance rates and eventually lead to a loan rejection. Right when you need it most. Why are these KC-135 tankers seen as the backbone of this entire operation? Because without them, the operation simply cannot move forward. Hitting Iran from European bases like those in Cyprus, Greece, or Bulgaria means aircraft have to cover very long distances. Fighter jets like F-35s or F-16s simply do not carry enough internal fuel for a multi-thousand-mile round trip. The KC-135 tankers work as an airborne bridge. They link up with strike packages in mid-air to refuel their tanks, allowing them to enter Iranian airspace, release their weapons, and get back to Europe safely. If the tankers stay on the ground, the strike jets cannot fly. So, how does the U.S. Navy play into this major change in strategy? During Operation Epic Fury, Allied bases were not available to American forces. So, the flying tanker steps in. If key countries like Qatar and Saudi Arabia refuse to allow military operations from their land, due to political pressure, the U.S. has to switch to its backup plan. This means skipping the immediate region as a launch point and instead going from the outer edge using European bases. But distance becomes the biggest problem in aerial warfare, and this completely changes the tactical approach. The heart of the new plan is a large-scale shift in logistics, relying heavily on the deployment of a large fleet of flying gas stations. The U.S. will carry out a coordinated movement of dozens of KC-135 stratotanker air-to-air refueling aircraft. These are being moved from the continental United States and the UK straight into bases in Greece, such as Suda Bay, and Bulgaria. These large tankers help carrier-based jets stay in the air for much longer periods. They also serve as an important lifeline for B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, especially when those bombers need to move into Iranian airspace before the US has full air superiority. The KC-135 Stratotankers, carrying heavy fuel loads, fly through friendly airspace over Saudi Arabia. Their crews know that their behind-the-scenes job could be the deciding factor between success and failure. As the B-2 South take off, their sharp outlines disappear into the night sky. Stealth is their cover, but distance is their problem. Hours into the mission, they meet up with tankers flying over the canal, taking on fuel midair as F-18s fly in circles around them for protection. The jamming aircraft send out heavy electronic noise, hiding the strike group's movements. Meanwhile, in underground command centers, U.S. analysts monitor live feeds, ready to shift forces the moment Iran's radars show any sign of activity. Israel used the same approach to strike Iran. The supertankers were the key lifeline for that mission. At 9 in the morning, Israel sent up more than a dozen aircraft, but it is a complicated process. They have to fly through or completely go around the airspace of nearby countries like Syria and Iraq to stay clear of hostile air defenses. Defense analysts estimate that the actual flying distance to reach central Iran is between 930 and 1,140 miles each way. Even though these routes may look simple on paper, they require very detailed planning, including air refueling calculations and routing attack aircraft through Jordan, Syria, and Iraq. The Israel and U.S. plan was to strike Iran in 3 separate waves. The first wave went after surface-to-air missile sites, radar systems, and Iran's Air Defense Command Center in Tehran, Ilam, and Keston. The second wave focused on wiping out ballistic missiles. And the third wave went after military manufacturing facilities. With Iran's air defense network broken apart by Tomahawk cruise missiles fired from destroyers hundreds of miles away, the route is now open. Next in line are the strategic locations like nuclear bunkers, which can be hit by the B-2 Spirit, the sharpest point of the entire operation. Taking off from bases in Jordan and the UAE, squadrons of F-15E Strike Eagles push into the area. These are the heavy weapon carriers of the operation. Each F-15 is loaded up with JDA-MIS and small-diameter bombs. It can carry up to 19 JDA-MIS or 28 small-diameter weapons. While the B-2s strike the deep underground bunkers, the F-15s go after the moving targets. Their AESA radars sweep the ground for ballistic missile launchers tucked away in valleys. Flying in pairs, they release precision-guided weapons on missile convoys, hangars, and backup command locations. Once they are Winchester, out of weapons or running short on fuel, they do not head back yet. They link up with the tanker corridor set up back in Phase 1, taking on thousands of pounds of jet fuel in midair before turning around for a second sortie.